Reckless officer nearly causes a dangerous engagement. It was def C minus. I'm cool with C minus. I give him a C. C minus maybe. I don't fucking know. That walking up on a cop like that, I mean, that was really bad. The only reason why I don't put it in the same bin as the guy we saw before is because the guy we saw before had his hands in his pocket and didn't get them out when he said that shit and stuff like that. It was pretty bad. That's the shit was really bad, but like that guy was up there with him.
Welcome
there is no imaginable world that's an A minus. I agree with that. Like there is. You can't call that an A minus. It's not possible, right? He's like, back up. And he's like, no, I'm going to, in fact, instead of like, he could have stopped and said, okay, where can I stand? He skipped that shit and was like, fuck it. I'm going to keep walking to you and say, you don't know who the fuck I am. And I don't, you don't know me. I don't know you. Don't act like you know me. Like already at the jump being super confrontational, that already makes it impossible for him to get an A minus in my book. It's impossible to be an A minus.
Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers handgun carry rights, the First Amendment, and de facto arrests, and is brought to us by News Now.
Yeah, that is a bit of his author bias we were talking about earlier, for sure. There's no imaginable world that's an A minus for sure.
Channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. In a video posted on September 29th, 2019 by First Amendment Auditor Aaron Branch, Deputy James and Deputy Zhang of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee responded.
Tyrant alert. Can you guys see that? That's the name of this video. Tyrant alert. Shelby County Severant? Is this supposed to be Sergeant? Pulls gun on me for open carrying.
To a call regarding a potential package theft reported by Mr. Branch's girlfriend's mother, Vernita Eccles. The allegations were based on doorbell camera footage that showed a neighbor taking a package off of the porch. The deputies arrived on the scene and began to question the witnesses. Ms. Eccles informed...
Oh, wait, whatever. I'll take that out.
The deputies that the neighbor across the street was the one who took the package, and that she may have a bench warrant for her arrest. After speaking with Ms. Eccles for approximately 2 minutes, the deputies decide to make contact with the neighbor. As they make their way across the street, Deputy James announces that he intends to arrest the neighbor without validating any of the claims made by the callers.
What's her name?
I'm sorry. Hold up.
Arrest. Deputies arrived on the scene and began to question the witnesses. Branch's girlfriend's mother responded to a call regarding a potential package theft reported by Mr. Branch's girlfriend's mother, Vernita Eccles. The allegations were based on
Mr. Branch's girlfriend's mother. I hate it when we get to 3 steps on that. My brain just turns into a pile of goo.
Doorbell camera footage that showed a neighbor taking a package off of the porch. The deputies arrived on the scene and began to question the witnesses. Ms. Eccles informed the deputies that the neighbor across the street was the one who took the package, and that she may have a bench warrant for her arrest. After speaking with Ms. Eccles for approximately 2 minutes, the deputies decide to make contact with the neighbor. As they make their way across the street, Deputy James announces that he intends to arrest the neighbor without validating any of the claims made by the callers.
What's her name?
Yeah,
figure out what's going on.
Once the deputies made contact with the neighbor, they immediately placed her into handcuffs. While being detained, the neighbor informs the deputies that the package in question belonged to her and had been delivered to the wrong address, and instructs her partner to produce the box with her name on it. After briefly examining the package, Deputy Zhang decides to place the neighbor into the back of his patrol car while they investigate further. Once inside the vehicle, the neighbor explains her side of the story to Deputy Zhang, and essentially proves that the package rightfully belonged to her, not Miss Eccles. The deputies then return to Miss Eccles' house to clarify that the package was sent to the wrong address. As the officers were explaining the situation, Mr. Branch arrived on the scene while open carrying a firearm on his hip.
Whose name should it be under?
Vernita Eccles.
Vernita Eccles?
Yeah.
Okay, now that box that came off the front porch, did y'all see a name on that box by any chance?
We didn't get a chance to look at it because it was stolen before we got the chance.
Now if we show you guys what the box looked like. How you doing, sir? Are you an officer, sir?
Put your hands up, man.
I don't need to put my hands up.
This is for officer safety.
I don't need to put my hands up.
Whoa. Holy shit. Pump the brakes.
Sir, wait.
Deputy James orders Mr. Branch to disarm himself for quote-unquote officer safety, and when Mr. Branch refuses, the deputy unholsters his firearm. According to Section 39-17-1351 of the Tennessee Code, Tennessee citizens, quote, have a legal right to keep and bear arms for their common defense, but the General Assembly has the power, by law, to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. The statute also states that Tennessee residents
I don't know what
can
that means.
obtain an enhanced handgun carry permit that entitles the permit holder to carry any handgun or handguns that they legally own or possess. However, while the statute requires a permit holder to have their permit in their immediate possession at all times when carrying a handgun and display it on demand of a law enforcement officer, the statute does not require citizens to disarm themselves whenever they are around police officers. Rather, the statute states that, quote, any law enforcement officer of this state or of any county or municipality may, within the realm of the officer's lawful
Name drop,
jurisdiction,
though.
and when the officer is acting in the lawful discharge of the officer's official duties, disarm a permit holder at any time when the officer reasonably believes it is necessary for the protection of the permit holder, officer, or other individual or individuals. In the 2011 case of Embody versus Ward, the United States District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee interpreted this statute as authorizing the, quote, temporary seizure of weapons that raises a threat to public safety, and held that it authorized officers to temporarily disarm an individual in a public park who was wearing camouflage and carrying an AK-47 type weapon that had been modified with an orange barrel tip to resemble a toy after several park visitors had expressed concerns.
Jesus Christ. Wait, what? Wait, was it an airsoft gun or was it an actual AK-47 type weapon that made it to resemble a toy? It seems like it was literally an AK made to resemble a toy. What the fuck? Yeah, seize that shit. Why would you... Why would you ever do that has to be illegal, right? The point of the orange tip is to make sure everybody knows it's not a real weapon, right? That's the point of the orange tip. To modify a real gun with the orange tip should be illegal. If that shit is not illegal, I don't know what should be. That shit must be illegal.
The court concluded that
Let's
under
play
these circumstances,
airsoft.
the officer, quote,
Money says I'll win.
had a reasonable belief to disarm plaintiff as necessary for the protection of the permit holder, officer, or other individuals in the park area, until the weapon was determined to be lawful. This situation is distinguishable from the situation in the Embody case, as Mr. Branch was carrying an ordinary firearm rather than an assault rifle and was on private property. As nothing in Mr. Branch's behavior indicated he intended to do anything with the firearm besides exercise his Second Amendment right to carry it, it would be incredibly challenging for Deputy James to argue that he had a
I feel like he should have put his hands up, though. I feel like this is pretty understandable. You're in a confrontation with the police. They're clearly on edge because of your gun. Just put your hands up. Like, I feel like there isn't much there, but this is an overreaction, magnitudes of an overreaction. Like, detaining him is way less of a escalation even than this shit.
reasonable belief it was necessary to disarm Mr. Branch for officer safety.
The proper procedures.
Who's lighting the smoke, though? Yeah, but he's like bringing, like, even look at his hand right now.
His hand going permit.
You don't know the part. Okay, hold
Yes, I do.
Hey,
yes,
dude,
I do.
keep
We
your
went to the
hands up,
class. Yes, I do.
I don't need to
Put
keep my
your
hands
gun
up. That means I
away.
haven't committed a
Yes,
crime.
put your gun away.
I have
You
not
asked
for
to
officer
see
safety.
You
This is
asked
for
to
officer
see his
safety.
permit.
Ma'am.
Okay, can he just step in the house then?
No,
I need
you
that
asked
car.
to see.
We're not talking to you,
I'm
man.
in my
sir.
car right now.
You
We're
asked
not
to see
talking
his
to you.
permit.
Please, can everybody stop talking at once? Holy fucking shit.
Somebody having
You
fire on my
asked to
seat.
see.
We're not talking to you
we'll
right
go in the
now.
house then.
I don't need to go in there. I haven't committed a crime.
You have a permit.
Oh my god, dude. Just let the cops be the only person with an L, man. Just like de-escalate the situation.
We're not saying.
Where's your permit?
Amber, record Officer James. We're gonna make a
Wait,
start
wait,
here
hold,
today.
hold.
I'm gonna make a start at
Come
James
on.
today.
There's
I'm gonna make
no
you a
threat.
star, James. I'm gonna make
see
you a
your
star.
permit.
He's literally saying he's gonna make them a star here. Like,
Step away, man. We're
You're
not
right.
talking to you.
Okay.
Let me see your permit.
Okay.
Keep this arm up. Let me see your permit.
I don't need to keep anything. I can do whatever the
This
fuck
is
I
officer
want.
safety. No, sir.
Do whatever.
Calm
Do
down.
what you do. Do your
Police
part.
officer.
Do your
yo,
part.
stop with the fucking shit.
Back up.
You know the
You want to go to jail
procedure.
too?
What
Do you have my
number
permit?
was
Disorderly
it
conduct. You have Oh, the permit.
How am I
Do you have
Disorderly conduct, all of you. Shut the fuck up, bro. Get the fuck back in the cruiser, bro. Like, you're not helping anybody.
Look, man, I'm telling you, you're about to go to jail.
You got two options. Disarm
You have
yourself
to
or
tell
leave the
me.
scene.
Why do I have to disarm?
Disarm yourself or leave the
Why do
scene.
I have to disarm
You got two
myself?
options.
Why do I have to?
You got two options.
That's not legal.
You got two
You're telling me
options.
to disarm myself. This is my family.
Our safety, officer safety.
That's not
We're
how-
asking you.
That's not how the law works.
Yes, sir, it is.
That's not.
Okay.
That's not
You
how
go to
the
law school?
works.
You go to
I did go to law school.
Okay, you passed the bar?
I did
So
pass
you're
the
a
bar.
lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
Okay,
I don't have to disarm myself. That's not how the law works.
Come here.
Didn't I mean, the dude who runs this isn't a lawyer, but didn't we just run through that they could reasonably seize some shit if they feel like the situation is there? Now, I don't think that this situation warranted it, is what he said, but you can have the shit seized from you.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Just go
I have
in
not
now.
committed a crime. They know I haven't committed a crime.
Okay.
Like, this dude is just clearly agitating the situation. If he wanted to de-escalate the situation and truly wanted the safety for him and his family, he'd just walk the fuck inside the house. All right? Why is it that when cops take L's, people feel the need to take an L along with them? I don't know why people feel the need to do this.
They know I have not committed a crime. Amber, I want you to record.
Yeah, he's like actively making the cops look better because he's just like, no, I have a gun and I'm just going to stand right here in front of you because I want to. Why? You're just like, you're making the whole situation more agitated. Like, you're escalating the situation unnecessarily. This cop right here, this absolute dumb fuck moron, though, gets the biggest F there is, fucking pulling the gun out of the fucking holster. Like, oh my God. Like, this guy, you know, definitely the biggest F here. But this guy isn't helping anything either.
I'm gonna make stars out of both of them. James
ahead.
and Zing. I'm gonna make big stars out of them. I love tyrants. I love tyrants like yourself.
Either you step inside or you go to
I'm
jail.
a private. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
5,
I'm,
4,
I'm not your
Wait,
child.
wait, hold on.
Oh, you're counting down. Soy 3, soy 2, soy. Come on, man.
Wait,
All right,
man, come on.
down.
I'm not in
No,
bro,
because
you're not scaring nobody with that fucking burn ass.
situation over there.
You're not talking about.
Turn that situation over there. I'm doing my job. I was called here, sir.
Okay. For a stolen package, is it against the
Look,
law?
are you part of this? Are you part of this whole
That's
thing?
my mother. That I
So
can
are
be
you the
here
victim? Are you the
whenever
victim?
I want to.
Are you the victim?
I can be
Okay,
here
I'm not talking to you
whenever I
anymore.
want
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Dude, it's not. Dude, the women here have been based as hell. Why the fuck are you yelling at them? She's literally the entire time like, hey, can you just go inside, to the dude with the gun, freaking out, rightfully so, on this dumbass fucking cop, all right, that's wearing the fucking stereotype fucking glasses, wicked, right, and shit. Like, she's going off of this, wondering why the fuck he's toting, right, just fucking pulls that shit out, unholsters the big iron. Like, I don't know why we're freaking out on the women here.
You don't have to.
Okay.
It's not
I don't
about
need to hear your
that.
voice because you're not
Officer
feeling
Kyle?
part of it.
Yeah.
Is it against the law to speak? Freedom of
I am
speech,
the
right?
law.
The officers threatened to arrest both Mr. Branch and his girlfriend for disorderly conduct for arguing with them, despite the fact they are on private property where they are invited guests. While the First Amendment does permit some restrictions on the content in a few limited areas, as well as reasonable restrictions to the time, place, and manner of an individual's speech, these restrictions typically apply to public locations rather than a home. In the 1994 case of City of Ladue versus Gileo, the Supreme Court held that, quote, a special respect for individual liberty in the home has long been part of our culture and our law, and that principle has special resonance when the government seeks to constrain a person's ability to speak there, whereas the government's need to mediate among various competing uses, including expressive ones for public streets and facilities, is constant and unavoidable. Its need to regulate
These guys should have
temperate
never
speech from
been
the home
cops.
is
Well, the guy who's filming it, presumably the cop, I haven't seen him say anything stupid yet. It's just been Mr. Big Iron on his hip that's been fucking escalating the situation.
surely much less pressing. Similarly, in the
Now, what is a fair critique though is the cop recording it should be de-escalating his fucking partner out of a position where he thinks that like essentially you should be like, all right, dude, stand down, like back up, let me take the lead on this for sure. But yeah, I don't know about the guy on the camera.
1969 case of Stanley versus Georgia, the Supreme Court determined that a Georgia law criminalizing the private possession of obscene materials violated the First Amendment, finding that the, quote, mere categorization of these films as obscene is insufficient justification for such a drastic invasion of personal liberties guaranteed by the First and 14th Amendments.
Wait, is
Whatever
this porn?
may be the justifications for other statutes regulating obscenity, we do not think they reach into the privacy of one's own home. If the First Amendment means anything, it means that a state has no business telling a man sitting alone in his own house what books he may read or what films he may watch. Our whole constitutional heritage rebels at the thought of giving government the power to control men's minds. Given the high level of respect given to the rights of individuals to engage in free speech on private property, the officer's threats to arrest Mr. Branch and his girlfriend likely violated the First Amendment. Additionally, according to Section 39-17-305 of the Tennessee Code, which is the state's disorderly conduct statute, quote, "A person commits an offense who, in a public place and with intent to cause public annoyance or alarm, engages in issues
Okay, yeah, we get that.
constitute disorderly conduct, even if the First Amendment would not be
Speaking,
implicated."
man.
Ma'am.
You got a baby you just brought me. I'm not being disorderly. I'm not being.
A bunch of lawyers over here.
The law says I have to present. I didn't even have to give you my ID.
Did you present it at first? No.
Did you
I don't have to. I don't have to. I haven't committed a
Dude, stop
crime.
waving his
What crime
fucking
do you
ID
suspect me of
around,
committing?
man.
I'm committed. I'm not supposed
No,
to. I'm
go
not
ahead.
supposed to.
Get out of here.
Tired.
Get out of here.
You're tired. I like him.
It is important to bear in mind that while the officers were occupied with their verbal confrontation with Mr. Branch, the unidentified woman who was detained at the beginning of this interaction has been in the back of the patrol car this entire time. While the court would likely find that the officers had reasonable suspicion to initially detain her based on the reported theft, because the officers placed her in handcuffs in the back of a police vehicle for an extended...
Dude, she's like a kid. Dude, they like locked the kid up in the back of the fucking car and forgot about her. Holy shit. I'm sorry, she's not a kid, but it's similar to like when people do that. They just put the kid in the car and then they forget about him. Jesus Christ, dude. What the fuck?
period of time after she
Were the
offered
windows
evidence that could have
cracked? Surely not.
dispelled their suspicions. A court could conclude
And it was
that
her
the detention
package, I think? Yeah, at least according to Audit the Audit, he said that they provided like significant evidence showing that it was her package.
transformed into an unreasonable seizure in violation of the Fourth Amendment. In the 1997 case of U.S. versus Avery, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals explained that, quote, although an officer may have reasonable suspicion to detain a person or his possessions for investigation, the officer's investigative detention can mature into an arrest or seizure if it occurs over an unreasonable period of time or under unreasonable circumstances. Similarly, in the 1999 case of Houston versus Clark County Sheriff Deputy, the Sixth Circuit stated that, quote, an investigative Terry stop may indeed ripen into an arrest through the passage of time or the use of force. When this occurs, the continued detention of suspects must be based upon probable cause. Although there is no bright line that distinguishes an investigative stop from a de facto arrest, the Supreme Court held in the 1985 case of United
Okay,
States
I'm sorry. I understand. All right, I understand. I love you.
cooperativeness and the fact that the woman provided evidence that the package
Is the
was
box
in her
she
name.
showed really evidence? I could take a box and show it. No, so it was more than that. I'm assuming it had to do with the shipping label. Maybe they showed them on their phone that, like, they had a receipt and shit like that. So, like, yeah, maybe that's like it.
Her handcuffed detention in the police cruiser does not appear warranted.
You're not used to this,
You
man.
step back inside.
Then you're not
You-
used to this.
Hey, dude, Mr. Branch.
He's not even talking
Mr.
to
Branch.
him.
I'm gonna be quiet.
Tell you how
You
this
can't be
works.
the complainant in a First Amendment protected activity.
Are you
James.
sure? Do you want to test me today? Do you want to test me today?
Sir, stop.
Jesus Christ, dude. This cop, fire this cop. Fire him. Fire him. Fire him. Fire him.
I'm done.
We
I'm
need
done.
some money.
Stop.
Come on,
I'm done.
Aaron.
The officers explained that the package was sent to the wrong address, and that the contents of the package did not match what Miss Eccles was expecting. After clearing up the issue with the complainants, the officers released the unidentified woman after having detained her for approximately 16 minutes. The woman then allowed the officers to enter her home and take pictures of the contents of the package in question. Deputy James informed Mr. Branch's family that he would file a continuation notice and have an officer follow up at a later date. After one more brief verbal exchange with Mr. Branch, the deputies returned to their patrol vehicles and began circling the street in an effort to locate Mr. Branch's car by running the tags on all the cars parked nearby.
Hey, he came out the
What?
black car, right?
Why?
Yeah, I'm going to get the tag off there in a second.
Once the deputies found his vehicle, they issued him parking citations, and their body cam footage ends with some interesting remarks.
I mean, do you think I did anything wrong there? Pull my gun?
Is that our
I
safety?
didn't pull it at him. I mean, I said I was pulled out because he was getting outraged.
Hold on.
We should have took it to jail.
It is
Oh
unclear
my
whether Mr. Branch filed a
God.
complaint or took any legal action against the deputies. Overall, Deputy James and Deputy
They gotta get a fat F, dude. Just a thick, girthy F.
Jong get an F for attempting to disarm Mr. Branch without a reasonable basis for doing so, threatening to arrest Mr. Branch and his girlfriend for exercising their First Amendment rights, and for detaining the unidentified...
So did they literally just give him a parking ticket just because they didn't like him? Was there actually a reason for that parking ticket? These comps all get A's.
Neighbor for a questionable amount of time prior to conducting a legitimate investigation. At no point during this interaction did Mr. Branch's conduct suggest that he was a threat to the deputies, and the notion that citizens should be required to disarm themselves in the presence of an officer while on private property is contrary to the current interpretation of the Second Amendment. Both of the deputies utterly failed to de-escalate the situation, and Deputy James's decision to unholster his weapon was unnecessary, unwarranted, and extremely reckless. That action alone had the potential to needlessly escalate this encounter into a deadly altercation. But Mr. Branch remained calm and was not intimidated by the deputies' empty threats. Both of the deputies demonstrated a fundamental misunderstanding of the First Amendment and the concept of private property, and made a concerted effort to overstep their boundaries on multiple occasions. Ultimately, the deputies did not make any arrests, but that is likely due to Mr. Branch's...
I give the dude with the gun a C. I give him a C.
Challenging dialogue and
He was knowingly escalating the situation by staying in there the way that he was. Knowingly. He knew it. He literally said it himself.
To stand
like
up.
He cannot get away with anything more than like a C+. No way.
For his rights. Mr. Branch gets an A-.
Oh! Nah, bro. Nah.
Because although he could have invoked his right to remain silent more tactfully, he rightfully challenged the legitimacy of the deputies' orders, refused to be intimidated by their conduct, and managed to remain relatively calm and collected despite efforts of the deputies to escalate the encounter. When the deputies initially
He defended his rights. He defended his rights in the most soy Keikona way possible. You can't take away my gun, and to show you can't, I'm just going to sit here right in front of you, 2 inches away from you, with my gun within hand's reach, just to show you can't take away. Get the fuck out of here, you soy motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. He's actively making the whole scene worse off. More escalating the situation. He said himself, intentionally doing it for fucking... He said, I'm gonna make you famous. Get that fucking shit out of here. Right? The only right he's defending is his right to be a goddamn fucking idiot.
Mr. Branch, his response was stern, but not vulgar or aggressive. The deputies continued to escalate the encounter, and while Mr. Branch did eventually get angry, he never got physical.
It's not on him to de-escalate. Bullshit. When it got out of the hand 100% because of bullshit. It is absolutely on all parties to de-escalate the situation. I put greater emphasis on the cops to de-escalate the situation because that's their fucking job. But it is absolute bullshit. Bullshit. That it is not individual people's responsibility to also de-escalate the situation. And specifically, it's not just that he didn't de-escalate the situation, he escalated the situation. Being confrontational with the police officers, instead of doing what the women get the fucking A+, okay? His girlfriend and the girlfriend's mom get a fucking A+. Because all they were trying to do was convince this dumb fuck to go back inside when they realized that this shit was escalating. There was no point in him standing there on the fucking porch with the fucking gun and sitting there and constantly that back and forth was going. It was a fucking package, bro. Just get the fuck back inside of your house and then everything will be fine. All right? The women get the A here. This dude gets a C. That dude gets a C. He didn't do anything illegal, but he actively made this situation more hostile for no good fucking reason. So yes, you do have a responsibility to de-escalate the fucking situation.
Aggressive with the deputies, and everything he said would likely be considered protected speech. This interaction boiled down to a battle of egos, but the law appears to favor Mr. Branch's
That's
assertion.
An insane expectation for a person to be calm. I love it how you're trying it with me right now. I never once said that he should be calm. All I said is that he should go inside. That's all I said. I love it how you're trying it. I don't know why you're fucking trying that shit with me.
Could be argued that Mr. Branch may have been...
No, they literally said later that he could go inside. But he said no, he's not going to go inside because he doesn't have to go inside.
Fitted from invoking his right to remain silent, and that is likely the case in almost every police encounter. However, it is equally arguable that Mr. Branch's
Can you make a quick statement on good reason for him acting the way that he did? This dude acted the way that he did because he wanted to do the constitutional right bullshit that everybody wants to do, which is stand up to the police when they think that they're right. And just be cringe, escalate the situation. And two, because he believed in his right to be able to own the gun, which to my knowledge he had the right to be able to do on his private property. And then he wanted to do that constitutional cringe where he has a debate with people on it. And he wanted to, quote, his words, not mine, make those cops famous by doing this fucking shit. So it's ridiculous.
Relenting demand that his rights be respected likely played a major role in preventing him from being arrested. Either way,
He didn't even have to go inside. Just put the gun back. Put the gun back where? He had it on his hip the whole time. You mean put the gun inside? Who was even threatening anyone before he showed up? What do you mean? If you're asking if the cop initiated the situation, he absolutely did. This is a perfect example of pick your battles, sure. Because basically, if you are in your right, you are allowed to escalate the situation but bro, choose your battles, man. No, I don't. We should never escalate a situation ever. All right? We shouldn't. Why would you do that? Why? More people could get hurt. Potentially, so any of these people, these innocent bystanders could have gotten shot. Somebody in the neighborhood could have gotten hit by crossfire. There is no reason to escalate the situation ever. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but it sounds like it might be the implication. There's no good reason to. Assuming his legal background is legit, do you think it makes sense for him to witness the encounter with his mom to make sure? Yeah, no, sure, it makes sense, but you could put down the gun inside of the house or what have you. Is there any good time to show up with a gun toward a cop, or is this only when the police are actually like genociding? Well, I've said this before, there's nothing you can do. If a cop starts fucking shooting innocent people in the street, you can't shoot them, because then another cop will just show up and shoot you. There's literally nothing you can do to a cop. There's actually nothing you can do as a citizen to a police officer. You have to cross your fingers that a police officer is nearby and will do something about it. Good luck. You have to challenge that shit in the courts. That's how you have to do it. Unfortunately, that's how the system works. You have to challenge it in the courts. You can't do it on the spot. If a cop straight up takes a gun out and fucking starts shooting up innocent people, you can't just pull a gun out and shoot them. You have to hope that somebody else does that fucking... Unless you want to risk getting shot by another cop.
Commend Mr. Branch for having the courage and conviction to stand up for his rights, and I encourage you all to give
As a licensed gun holder, you should know to not escalate when guns are involved. Yeah, especially when guns... Yeah, 100%. Specifically in America where you risk getting shot, you always de-escalate even if you're in the right. Well, yeah. Also, I just don't know why you would escalate situations, right? Like, ever. Like, talking is always better than physical violence. Always. Always better than physical violence. Like, nobody is, like... I don't know. It's like, I've never been like, you know what? This interaction between me and this individual, yeah, you know what? I should really beat the fuck out of him. Yeah, that'd be really productive if I just beat the absolute hell out of him. The only time that would ever be justified is in self-defense or in the defense of another person that cannot defend themselves. Like, I've never been, yeah, you know what? Our disagreement here is so bad, I should just, like, knock you out. Yeah, I should just kick your ass. I should just kick your teeth in. Sounds good to me. The fuck? What the fuck? What am I, an ape? This video a chatter shared apparently debunks that claim. Man who shot at police in self-defense is acquitted on all charges. I'm assuming was this in court? Was this in court? Because I'm not talking about court. As I stated specifically, in court, or maybe even after the fact. But in the middle of the altercation or what have you, nope, you're literally just crossing your fingers. That's all you're doing. Because if you engage a police officer, you can be killed on that engagement. Period. Now, it'd be nice if after the fact, it's literally codified into law, by the way. That if you have an issue with what a cop is doing or like a problem with detention, you can't just sit there and go, nope, I'm not going to follow your orders. You have to fight it in court. That is how it works. That is how the physical entity of the process works. So what I'm saying isn't like challengeable by a YouTube video. Did you know that even a 22 will go through a car and fuck you up unless you are behind the engine block? I think it really does depend on a lot of shit. I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but like, for instance, there's a lot of places it wouldn't be able to go through on a car. And it depends on the car. I mean, it depends if the car is like full metal or what have you, or aluminum, or what it is, you know?
To the News Now Memphis channel. You can find a link in the description below. Let us know
What's
if
a
there's
22? It's a caliber of round. Officer fired. Officer shut down by fearless mother. Yeah, it's a very small round. I think a 9mm can. I think a 9mm can as well. Yeah. Well, I know a 9mm can. There's literally sometimes cops are instructed to be able to shoot through the front glass of their fucking car if an altercation sometimes happens, like in seen it in like chases and shit. I don't think I could show it because I can't show somebody discharging their firearm or what have you. But like, yeah, cops can literally shoot out, like some of them can shoot out the front glass of their fucking cruiser with a 9mm.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers child abandonment, harboring fugitives, and warrantless entries, and is brought to us by the Greeley Tribune's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit.
Metal or aluminum? Yeah, sorry. When I said metal or aluminum, I was tripping up on my shit.
They deserve. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, Raycon. If you're still using wired thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring this episode. On June 28, 2019, at 11:14 a.m., Officer Casey Barnum of the Greeley Police Department visited the Greeley, Colorado apartment of mother of three, Rose Perez, to follow up on a call that Ms. Perez's 16-year-old son, Trey, made to the Weld County Dispatch from the apartment complex's main office. In the call, Trey reported that he had missed an Adams County court date that morning because Ms. Perez had allegedly kicked him out and refused to take him to the hearing. Officer Barnum walked up the stairs to the apartment and knocked on the door.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
So we're getting a call from your son saying that you guys are kicking him out.
I actually just got home. He has a warrant out for his arrest.
Right.
Out
for
of-
possibly for not doing court or something.
Yep, that's right. Yep, that is right.
And he's calling us saying you're kicking him out of the house.
I just got home from court, like literally just walked in the house. It's been my sister, and he actually hasn't been allowed in my house because he did this
So
the last time, and I had to do a well check because I was at work. So I did tell her not to open the door if he came back, if I'm not here.
you can't do that.
While Officer Barnum
Wait,
informed
what? Is that true? I think you can. Maybe not? I don't know. How old is this guy? Did we get that?
Ms. Perez that she cannot refuse to allow her child into her home when she is not there. He does not cite any legal authority for this assertion. Under Section 14-13-102 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, a minor is considered
16? My bad.
abandoned when left without provision for reasonable and necessary care or supervision. And Section 14-6-101 makes it a Class 5 felony to willfully neglect, fail, or refuse to provide reasonable support and maintenance for children under 18. The necessary level of care and supervision will vary depending on the child's age and other relevant circumstances. Section 19-3-604 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, which details when the legal relationship between a parent and child can be terminated by the state, defines abandonment as a situation where the parent has surrendered physical custody of the child for 6 months or more without showing firm intention to resume physical custody of the child or to make permanent legal arrangements for the care of the child. There is nothing in any of these provisions that requires the care and supervision to occur in the parent's home, or grants a child an unconditional right of entry to the parent's home. In this situation, Trey had been staying with Ms. Perez's sister-in-law. Ms. Perez remained in contact with him, and he was still permitted to enter the home when Ms. Perez was present. Under these circumstances, Officer Barnum would have no legal basis to conclude that Ms. Perez had abandoned her child. Colorado also criminalizes child abandonment under the offense of child abuse, which Section 18-6-401 of the Colorado Revised Statutes defines as causing an injury to a child's life or health, permitting a child to be unreasonably placed in a situation that poses a threat of injury to the child's life or health, or engaging in a continued pattern of conduct that results in malnourishment, lack of proper medical care, cruel punishment, mistreatment, or an accumulation of injuries that ultimately results in the death of a child or serious bodily injury to a child. Since this law only applies to children under the age of 16, Ms. Perez could not be prosecuted for child abuse for her parenting decisions regarding Trey. However, she could potentially face child abuse charges for allowing Trey in the home around her 2 young children, particularly if he injured them, as this could be considered permitting them to be unreasonably placed in a situation that poses a threat of injury to their life
Why
or health.
16 though?
Okay, well, either way, he has warrant out for his arrest, so you guys can deal with it. Okay?
So, as a mother,
Okay, I gotta go, okay? I'll call you back.
so I'm pretty sure I know which warrant it is. It was for the incident a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna come outside.
He's not coming going to flat for that.
Okay. It's not a warrant for that. It was a warrant today because he failed to show up for court. So let me explain to you, officer, what's been going on, okay? So first off, he's kicked my door down before.
Okay.
The whole entire thing. The other day I was at work, and I can't leave work to come and see what's going on. I have small baby children here.
Okay.
And he did this to my door while I was gone. While I was gone, not while I was here.
So, ma'am?
So I did a well check. No, please hear me out first, because I know exactly where you're going with this. Okay? So I asked him on his birthday, which was Tuesday, to get his butt home.
Okay.
He failed to come home. I don't know if he told you that or not, but he failed to come home.
Okay.
Okay, so he went to my sister-in-law's house and has been there since. And I told him, if you're not here by Friday morning in order to go to court, Trey, I'm going to court on my own.
Okay.
Which I did this morning. I went to court on my own. His court was at 9:30, and I will show
It's
you
fine.
where
I'll
I
bring you
told
to
him.
court anyway.
Okay, I told him your court is at 9:30, so you better be here doing what you're supposed to be doing, or I'm going to court on my own.
Okay.
And guess what I did? Because he just got here. So what did I do? I went
Ma'am, your kid is 16.
to court on my own.
Okay.
Okay, so he has a warrant out for his arrest out of out of Adams County right now for
Okay.
failure to appear. And the judge specifically told me, I told her everything that happened, as I'm telling you.
Okay.
And am I kicking him out now? Yeah, he has a warrant out for his arrest. He's not welcome in my home until he gets that taken care of.
Okay.
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 You can't do that.
Yes, I can.
you
He's a
cannot.
fugitive. Yes, I can.
You can listen.
Yes.
Listen.
That's your son, lady. What the fuck? Okay, listen. If the kid is actually making a, he's a fugitive, fugitive. If the kid is making the home life unstable and untenable for the other children and for her, like, she does have a right to be able to like offload the responsibility of that kid onto like another family member, of course, like make sure that another family member is taking care of that kid, what have you. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine, you know. I grew up in, you know, environments where this was pretty fucking common, where like there were kids jumping from place to place because they just would like kick the shit out of the other kids in the home. It was pretty nasty shit. And obviously I never say to her, yeah, keep that kid there. Keep your 16-year-old kid there, even though they're beating the fuck out of that 5-year-old kid or some shit, you know? You can't do that. So, yeah, I could understand this, but that's yet to be articulated. It seems like they're taking it out on like the physical property.
What?
I listen to you.
Okay, what?
You can call us if he comes, but you cannot say you can't come in. And if you lock him out, he can kick your door to get in because he lives here.
Ms. Perez informs Officer Barnum that Trey is not welcome in her home because he is a fugitive and that she will not allow him to return until he takes care of the warrant. Section 18-8-105 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, which defines the criminal offense of being an accessory to crime, prohibits harboring or concealing another individual with the intent to hinder, delay, or prevent their discovery, detection, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment for the commission of a crime. There are no exceptions to this law for harboring family members or minors. It is feasible that Ms. Perez could be subject to charges under this statute if she allowed Trey into her home, although it may be challenging to prove that she specifically intended to hinder, delay.
Yeah, I feel like that's real. I feel like that's the real technicality. There's no way that just because my 16-year-old kid has a warrant out for their arrest, that like I would get caught on like harboring a fugitive just because they live with me. Right? There's going to need to be some substantial proof that I'm like actively trying to hinder or obscure the location of him or what have you to aid him in evading capture by the police. Like,
or prevent his prosecution. By allowing Trey to stay in her home, Ms. Perez could also potentially face charges for contributing to the delinquency of a minor, which Section 18-6-701 of the Colorado Revised Statutes defines as inducing, aiding, or encouraging a child to violate any federal or state law, municipal or county ordinance, or court order. In response to Ms. Perez's argument, Officer Barnum states that she is not allowed to prevent Trey from entering her home, and that if she locks him out, he is allowed to kick down the door to enter. While Trey could possibly be charged with an array of crimes for kicking down the door, depending on the specific circumstances of the incident, at the very least, he could be charged with criminal mischief, more commonly known as
cop getting
vandalism.
a super F. I think the cop would get I would give the cop a C. And that's just because I wouldn't want to put them in the same position. This cop does not know how to do their job, it seems. Like they don't understand the law with which they're trying to enforce. Like a sergeant would do really well. Maybe this guy is a sergeant, I don't know. But like somebody who actually knows the law being here would be pretty good for this guy.
Section 18-4-501.
The cop is getting emotionally involved, which usually is like not the worst thing in the world, because they like will tend to go easy on the populace and like, you know, be pretty chill. But in this time, it's like misplaced.
Colorado Revised Statutes defines criminal mischief as knowingly damaging the real or personal property of one or more other individuals, including property owned by the individual jointly with another. Whether the apartment is a rental or owned by Ms. Perez, any intentional damage to the door would be considered criminal mischief.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. He may not kick my door.
Okay?
Okay?
If you lock him out, he can.
Okay, I didn't lock him out. My sister did. If he is being a havoc, well, my sister is here babysitting my children.
Okay.
He is not welcome here.
She needs to call us. You can't kick him out.
We did call you. We did call. We did a well check. The officer came and you can check that.
We do a little
The
bit of
officer came
criminal
and did that.
tomfoolery.
He hasn't
Any
been home
mischievous
since until
individuals?
today.
Okay.
Today he was locked out again, and the reason that he was locked out was because I wasn't home. When I'm home, then he can come.
That's not how this
Okay,
works.
too bad, so sad. Goodbye.
No, that's not how. Ma'am, listen. That is not how.
Ms. Perez
What the fuck is this chick doing, dude? Dude, how are they both taking such big L's, bro? Dude, I feel like every video I have to repeat myself, man. Just let the cops take the L. Why do you have to make yourself take an L?
Perez attempts to end the conversation by entering her apartment and closing the door, and Officer Barnum kicks the door open before she can shut it, which Ms. Perez
Is
appears
that
to interpret
true? Wait, do we have evidence of a kicking open?
as an attempt to enter her apartment. Ms. Perez attempts to repel Officer Barnum by shoving him back, and Officer Barnum grabs her by the arm, pulls her out of the apartment, handcuffs her, and
Jesus.
informs her he is placing her under arrest. The
Jesus.
Fourth Amendment protects
You
citizens from
literally saw it?
unreasonable...
No, what we saw was him walk. Hold up.
Then he can come.
That's not how this
Okay,
works.
too bad, so sad. Goodbye.
No, that's not how. Ma'am, listen. That is not how.
How do we know that he kicked it open? He could have just put his hand on the door. No?
Ms. Perez attempts to end the conversation by entering her apartment and closing the door, and Officer Barnum kicks the door open before she can
You
shut
hear
it,
the kick? That could be his hand. No?
which Ms. Perez
You
appears
can
to
hear it?
interpret
That could be his hand.
as an attempt to enter her apartment. Ms. Perez
Could be a
attempts to
kick.
repel Officer Barnum by
Look
shoving
at
him
the
back.
door. So? Wait, are you guys so soy you guys can't open a door with your hand? I'm actually curious.
And Officer Barnum
Does it
grabs her
make that? Yes, hands can make that noise.
by the arm, pulls her out of the apartment, handcuffs her, and informs her he is placing her under arrest. The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable governmental intrusion into their homes. As the Supreme Court of Colorado stated in the 1999 case of
Why
People
does it matter? The implications matter.
versus Lewis, the principal protection for
You would have
citizens
seen it in the video? No, not necessarily at all.
against governmental intrusion into their homes is the requirement that a warrant to enter be based on probable cause. In order to enter a home without a warrant, police officers must have probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed, and exigent circumstances
place it? It
necessitating
depends.
immediate police action must exist. In Colorado, there are 3 general categories of exigent circumstances: hot pursuit of a fleeing suspect, a risk of immediate
Wanna debate
destruction of
hand
evidence,
versus
and an
shoe sounds?
emergency
Yeah, I absolutely could.
that threatens the life or safety of another. In this situation, Officer Barnum did not have probable cause that a crime had been committed, nor were there exigent circumstances that justified entering Ms. Perez's apartment without a warrant. Therefore, any entry into the home under these
Just
circumstances
admit it was
would
obviously. I don't believe it.
be illegal. Section 18-1-705 of the Colorado
Well, that's why I'm wondering, Dio. The door swings the wrong way for that. His hand would have been at least mid-door to stop. That's not true at all.
revised statutes allows an individual who is in possession or control of any building, realty, or other premises to use reasonable and appropriate physical force upon another individual when
Didn't
reasonably
she tell him that she tells her sister to lock out her 18-year-old son? Is that not a crime? That's apparently not a crime if they have somewhere else to go, which, I mean, at least makes sense with a lot of the shit that I was aware of.
necessary to prevent what the individual reasonably believes to be the commission or attempted commission of an unlawful trespass. The First Division of the Colorado Court of Appeals determined in the 1988 case of People versus Lutz that this section is not just applicable to civilians, but it also applies to unlawful entries where the trespassers happen to be police officers. Therefore, if Ms. Perez reasonably believed that Officer Barnum was entering her home illegally, there is a legitimate argument to be made that she had the statutory privilege to resist the unlawful intrusion into the sanctuary of her private home. It is important to bear in mind that this statute does not grant citizens the right to resist an officer's entry into their home if the officer has legitimately acquired probable cause to enter with the complement of exigent circumstances. And it is extremely difficult for the average
How would you fucking prove it?
citizen to determine whether an officer's intrusion into their home is legal or not. So it is extremely unwise to physically resist officers who warrantlessly enter a private citizen's home. In situations like this one, it is almost always best to allow the officers to enter the home and challenge the legitimacy of the entry later in court, regardless of whatever statutory privileges may be granted to citizens. It is not worth the risk of mistakenly resisting a lawful entry from police and putting yourself and other occupants of your home in unnecessary danger. After arresting Ms. Perez, Officer Barnum placed her in the back seat of his police
Dude,
vehicle.
I wanted to see, like, this was so cringe.
She demanded to speak with his supervisor, Sergeant Wade Corliss, who joined Officer Barnum at the scene. Ms. Perez was held in the cruiser for about an hour until Sergeant Corliss ordered Officer Barnum to let her go.
What?
Greeley Police Chief Mark Jones and Deputy Chief Adam Turk visited Ms. Perez at a later date to follow up on the incident. And according to a September 20th, 2019 letter the agency sent to Ms. Perez, the department determined that Officer Barnum's actions, quote, were not appropriate or according to department policy. In November 2019, the Greeley PD announced that Officer Barnum was no longer with the department. On June 26, 2020, Ms. Perez filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Colorado against Officer Barnum, Sergeant Corliss, and the city of Greeley for violation of her Fourth Amendment rights. Ms. Perez's complaint also alleges that she suffered physical injuries to her left hand and wrist, including pain, swelling, bruising, and dequervin tenosynovitis.
What?
Her left hand and wrist, including pain, swelling, bruising, and dequervin tenosynovitis.
Dequervoseventerolitis? Is that, what the fuck? We're gonna have to close caption whatever the fuck that shit is.
Of her Fourth Amendment rights. Ms. Perez's complaint also alleges that she suffered physical injuries to her left hand and wrist, including pain, swelling, bruising, and dequervin tenosynovitis.
Dequervos the fuck, dude, that you literally just win if you put that shit into Scrabble. Literally, Google doesn't have a result. Okay. This word. A painful condition affecting the tendons in the thumb side of the wrist. Repetitive hand or wrist movements can make the condition worse. The main symptoms are pain, tenderness in the wrist, often below the base of the thumb. Treatment may include medication, physical therapy, or in a rare case, surgery. Treatment is generally successful when begun early.
Which is a painful inflammation of tendons at the base of the thumb. As of the date of this video, the litigation is ongoing. Overall, Officer Barnum gets an F for failing to conduct a thorough investigation, displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of Colorado's child abandonment laws, and entering Ms. Perez's home without the legal authority to do so. This is yet another case of an officer failing to...
He's probably going to give the chick either an A+ or an A. Probably an A+, I'm thinking. It's what he gives the chick.
Do their due diligence of understanding the laws they are charged with enforcing, and neglecting...
maybe an A because of the physical shit that he
to adhere to the boundaries of the Fourth Amendment.
Deserved A? No shot she gets a deserved A+.
Officer Barnum had plenty of time to contact a
I give her a B+. She was just really sassy, which has no argument against it. Like, the whole process could have been expedited into literally a 5-minute deal if she just chose to, like, actually go with it. It's just not really that big of a deal. My main issue was like her like physically pushing him out of the shit. Like that just escalated shit.
Supervisor to ensure that he was carrying out his duty appropriately, but instead, he chose to enforce his understanding of the law rather than clarifying that he was doing so accurately. Officer Barnum's attempt to enter Ms. Perez's home was totally unnecessary, and is yet another aspect of this encounter that could have been avoided with the advice of a superior officer. The fact that Ms. Perez was detained for nearly an hour only adds to the scope of the Fourth Amendment violation.
Wait, Lefty Angler, why are you doing this? Why are you weird, man?
That occurred, and I fail to see how it took the Greeley officers
how does the woman get an F, Lefty Angler,
that long to determine that Ms. Perez's arrest was uncalled for. I commend the Greeley Police Department for their decision to fire Officer Barnum, and I sincerely hope that the department used this encounter as an opportunity to educate all of their officers.
Fair. I don't think... Okay, hold on, chat. I see a lot of people in chat saying that she's a bad... What makes her a bad mom? Is it just because she won't let her kid inside of her home? I unironically and genuinely think this might be a very privileged position that you guys might be having. That you guys didn't grow up or where, like, this shit had to happen in some households. Sometimes you just have to have your kid go live with their grandma or their aunt. Like, legitimately. That's just something that you have to do. Because sometimes... I grew up with a lot of kids that literally beat the fucking hell out of their siblings. And sometimes their fucking parents. They had to live with their fucking, their grandparents or their aunt. They beat the fuck out of their brothers and sisters. That's what they fucking did. Like, beat the fucking like, to the point where they had to stay at fucking school for 10 hours a day. Okay? Literally, the janitors had to kick their kids out of the fucking school. They were that afraid to go home. And sometimes, yeah, you gotta kick your kid out of your fucking house if they're doing that shit and have them go live with their fucking grandma. Yeah, shit happens.
On the relevant statutes and case law. Ms. Perez gets an A, because although she did allow her emotions to dictate the outcome of this interaction, she did everything she could to dispel the officer's suspicions. She did not allow Officer Barnum to intimidate her, and she followed...
If your kid is an asshole, are you trying to say if your kid is an asshole, you are a bad parent? That is an incredibly reductive way of looking at the world. No, I don't think it's that simple. I think that you can often be a bad parent if your kid is like an asshole, but I would never fully blame the parent. No.
Up this encounter with the proper legal action. Officer Barnum's assertion that Ms. Perez was legally obligated to subject her younger children to the violent nature of her older son was beyond ridiculous, and I can definitely see why she was so emotional about the officer's conduct. Although Ms. Perez's decision to push the officer out of her apartment was somewhat reckless, Colorado statutes justify her actions, and it is highly unlikely a court would rule against her in that respect. As always, the courts will consider the totality of circumstances involved in this interaction, and I find it highly unlikely that a court would come to the conclusion that Ms. Perez's obligations
Their kid, their fault. Couldn't be social circumstances at school or outside of school when not at home. True.
to her son outweighed her obligations to her younger children. Much of this interaction stemmed from the poorly executed discretionary decisions of Officer Barnum, and I have no doubt that Ms. Perez will fare well in the courtroom. I commend Ms. Perez for standing up for her civil liberties and for following up this encounter with a lawsuit. Be sure to give your support to the Greeley Tribune for covering this story. You can find a link to their channel in the description below. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the ATA Patreon page for more police interaction.
Police chief resigns after detaining business owner. No shot, bucko.